We're here with Cigar and Spirits TV, and we have our second Cigar and Spirits sweetheart, Delicia, who's better known as the Cigar Vixen throughout the cigar industry. She's got an amazing following through all cigar smokers throughout the country and growing international. And it's a privilege for us today to be able to do a shoot with her to be our second Cigar and Spirits sweetheart. Introducing Delicia, the Cigar Vixen. Delicia, how are you doing?
Great, wonderful time
So
far.
tell us a little bit, there's so many people following you now in the industry, and you've got such a big following from your education that you give on cigars to your passion for cigars. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this, and then a little bit about what it is you do as the Cigar Vixen.
Well, you know, I got into it really just as a hobby. I grew up around a huge family, lots of music, alcohol, cigars, and it just seemed like the next natural thing to kind of get into talking about them and sharing, you know, that expertise, if you want to call it that, or just the passion for it with, you know, anyone that wanted to watch.
Getting a little bit into your passion, we sat down with myself and my editor, John Shaquille, about a couple months back, and we had a good time to get to know each other more. And your passion for cigars, and especially as a woman and the women following that's coming into the industry, tell us, I want to know more about that passion, because you spoke so beautifully about your passion for cigars and spirits, and I guess kind of the lifestyle we all have within the industry.
Right. You know, it's like you've said it pretty much the best. It's growing, and it's a wonderful thing to get, you know, the feedback from people that are watching it in different countries and, you know, throughout the United States that comment. I get a lot of requests for, you know, different types of cigars and how do you cut one, how do you light one, for the females that are kind of getting into it, and you know, their first experience going into a cigar lounge now, being welcomed into that. It's kind of encompassing all of those things.
I remember you mentioned me a little bit of trying to be, or your goal of being kind of a leader to women within the cigar industry to have their first cigar, to I guess much like a wine, to enjoy a cigar, you know, the way you do. Is that something kind of, I know you spoke to me about that.
Yes, you know, that's one of the things that is one of my larger goals, is to get more of those females, actually just to get new smokers in general, you know, joining in, kind of a mixture of the new generation. We're seeing it a lot with the cigars that are coming out. A lot of cigars are catering to that newer generation, so just encompassing that, as well as the females. I've had a lot of them so far that come into different events and they tell me it's their first time. They ask those questions. We kind of try and capture some of that on video as well to show their first time, kind of give that experience about, I mean, there's nothing like your first time in getting the facial expression and the taste and kind of capturing all of that. So it's a beautiful thing.
When we spoke in the past, we spent quite some time together, and you were telling us a lot of how you really want to influence women into the cigar industry and have their first cigar. What's kind of your goal with that?
Really, I'd like to just remove that stigma that it's all a boys' club, and really it's not. There's quite a few women that I've met in the industry that are smoking, and just getting some newer smokers, you know, involved in it, and creating that welcoming atmosphere in a lounge. You know, when you walk in and you have a wonderful experience, you're going to come back again. Now,
being a boys' club, how do you handle the boys' club? Because we know in the cigar industry and even the spirits industry, it's a boys' club.
Yeah.
So how do you handle it? I'm sure there's a lot to handle.
There's always an interesting few that pop up, but normally, you know, the majority of the people that I meet are amazing. You know, they're very gentlemanlike, very welcoming, curious. A lot of the time, I love to hear the, you know, offerings to cut and light for me, or, you know, is that your first cigar kind of thing, which is great. You know, it just gives an opportunity to kind of.
But you've spent a lot of time learning the etiquette, though, have you not? I mean, of the cutting, I've noticed the way you do cut your cigar, the way you do light your cigar, that you seem to take that very seriously in the etiquette that you do handle your cigars.
I try.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that in the past, so that's, you know.
Yeah, and it's something, just sharing that knowledge, you know, to people that I've been at events where not just female, but actually the few that I've gone to have been males that I didn't want to point it out, but they were, in my opinion, they weren't lighting it the best way to enhance their smoking experience. In other words, they didn't toast the foot at all. They kind of just threw it in there like a cigarette. And really, I think it kind of changes the experience when you do it a certain way. So just sharing that knowledge. And again, it's an opinion, and it's definitely, everybody has their own way. So just sharing my own way is, I found, is somewhat helpful.
So, what was one of your first cigars that you remember? What got you hooked?
Well, the cigar that got me hooked was a Padron 64. Of
Okay.
course, yeah. That was not my first cigar, but that was the first
A little
one
stronger
that
cigar
really.
for a first cigar, no?
You know, my very first cigar made me sick, but I should preface that by saying, and I'm sure
Was that the
people.
Padron?
No. This was
Okay.
a Macanudo, actually.
Ah,
But it was. I don't think it was a cigar. It was the whole experience of the day. I was at a family event. All my uncles smoked, and we had been, drinking throughout the day. It was a cousin's birthday, and the mixture of all of those things that came before the cigar, I think, is what actually.
you come
made
from a
that
big
happen.
family, don't you?
I come from a
Right?
huge family. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of Latinos, very loud,
A lot of
crazy.
brothers, I think.
I
You
have
mentioned-
only have one brother.
Oh,
I have
okay.
4 sisters, but I have a
Oh.
lot of cousins. So, and they're all, we're all within the same age group. So we grew up together around the music and the drinking, and the cigars was just normal.
Delisa, what's the perfect evening for you?
Well, if I'm gonna go out, it's usually to eat because I have a big appetite. So I would probably start the evening somewhere like Gulfstreams, perhaps. That's one of my favorite restaurants. I love the patio outside that you can, smoke a cigar after your dinner and kind of just hang out. Anything that's nearby the beach and involves music, I'd be thrilled.
Delisa, how did you get the name Cigar Vixen?
Well, I was playing with some different ideas and jotting down something that would be kind of catchy, and that one just kind of came to mind and had a decent flow to it, and there's really nothing fancy that goes behind that story, but just kind of created it, I guess.
And that's what most people, especially in the industry now, know you as.
Yeah.
Do people ever come up to you and go, oh, that's the Cigar Vixen?
Yes, that's been, the best, so far, one of the best rewards is walking through an event and people, already know who I am. They'll say that, I hear that name kind of in the background. It's funny.
That's great. You had a #1 pick of cigar this year. What was that?
It was the Falto London.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could have every cigar in a Lancero, it would be amazing to me. It's my favorite Vitola.
How many cigars are you smoking, let's say, a day?
It really depends. If it's just a normal day, I'm at home, maybe, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. If I'm at an event, like anywhere from maybe 3 to 4. It kind of varies, just depends on the day.
So with Cigar and Spirits magazine, it's very important to us to carry ourselves in a certain way of sophistication as a gentleman or a lady. What does it mean to you to be a gentleman or a lady?
Probably just that holding yourself very, very elegantly, very sophisticated. You don't want to speak, too candidly sometimes, and really just the way you carry yourself, I think, can go, for a lady or a gentleman. Really, just the way that people perceive you and what you put out there.
So my last question, and I want you to tell this to me very honestly, and something you haven't told anyone and anywhere out there that anyone in the industry knows. Tell us something about Cigar Vixen and Delisa that nobody else knows.
Wow. Well, if you're looking for like a personal question, I don't know if people know that I love to cook. That's kind of unrelated. I love to cook. I always have music on, blaring. People know that, so that's not very, secretive. But the cooking thing would be probably something that no one knows. Very unrelated to industry, but that is something that I enjoy to do.
So every guy's dreaming cooking with a cigar and a spirit, right?
I do leave the cigar out of the kitchen, not gonna lie. I don't want any ash in the food, but the spirit is definitely there.
Oh, beautiful.
Always cook with a glass of wine or a little bit of tequila.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today with a beautiful
you.
shoot. You can see the shoot on stands on March 18th. Be able to look for Delisa, the Cigar Vixen.
Thank you.